And if we take a step back and look at the music industry as a whole, the music industry was created in the days of sheet music and jukeboxes. And back then it was specifically designed to really trick artists, trick jazz musicians back then. And they created this system with, oh, here's a small advance, $5,000, $50,000 cash up front, just sign the bottom line on this 400-page contract. And we will be responsible for collecting revenue from all the different sources and paying you. But obviously that didn't really work very, in a fair or transparent ways. And sadly, those practices are still employed today, with this music industry being extremely complex. I don't even really fully understand how it works, whether all the money is trickling down to publishers and PRSs and ASCAPs and all these royalty rights associations over the world. It's a very complex industry, and there's very little transparency, and there's a lot of mystery. I always say where there is mystery, there is a way to profit. And it seems like there is a lot of mystery that creates profits for a lot of big powers. So, over the years working with Gareth, we kind of really saw how the revenue model and income really changed from an artist. We used to make decent money selling CD albums. And then the next thing that came there was the MP3s. And, the iTunes MP3 store, for a while there, 99-cent downloads, it still had a 70% profit margin. So it was actually pretty good, and you can make some good money there. Then, of course, Napster came along and completely wiped that out. And the next thing that came then is, of course, streaming, and Spotify leading the charge there. But sadly, they have kind of always been in the grip of the major record labels, who kind of, they were operating for quite some time without having the proper licenses and agreements in place. And when they were, I guess, too big to fail, the record labels came in and muscled their way into taking ownership of the company. And for sure, they have more favorable payout deals than you and me, for example. And then, of course, the way that the Spotify payment model works is simply, they take all the money that they make in any given day. So all the money from subscriptions, I think they had now, 155 million paying subscribers. And of course, the revenue that goes into a big pool, and whoever has the most amounts of streams gets the most amount of revenue. So that pro rata model works really great for that 1%. So when you're a Beyonce, you're Taylor Swift, you're Ed Sheeran, you have tens of millions of fans, you have tens of millions of fans on Twitter, you send them traffic, you get the biggest piece of that pie. That doesn't necessarily work very great for the smaller guys, and a lot of them being independent. And there's been a lot of articles about it, but pretty much something like 1% of the artists on Spotify accounts for 90% of the revenue, which typically means that 99%, the remainder, get to share 10%, which typically comes out to about 200 US a year or around there. So clearly not something to base your musical career on. Clearly not something that you can use to support your music career with buying instruments or music production programs or whatnot. So a lot of artists, or most artists, made most of their money touring, playing gigs. And sadly now with the pandemic has completely crushed that. There's really no income at all from playing live gigs, live events. And some people that I talk to here in the States at Live Nation, they don't even start to look at things until 2022. So are we going to have an entire more fucking year of making no money? It's just really terrible. But on the flip side there, it really only showed that the need for having better alternatives online. And there's been some great new options like, live streaming behind a payment gate wall. So at least you can make some revenue performing a little show with your band in your garage in front of an audience, receiving some sort of online ticketing revenue from that. We saw Bandcamp has really exploded in direct-to-consumer selling of music, MP3s and merch, etc. So, Rocky was kind of born, to kind of tackle those problems and rather to try to tackle on and build a solution to fix the broken music industry, which many companies have tried. Instead, we just look at it that we'll just draw a line in the sand and build something from the ground up using blockchain technology to improve royalty accounting and transparency mechanism, which is of course on the speculative side, but there are some great advantages with having a token payment tied into a consumer platform with mainstream adoption as there's more and more users that are coming on that are using it. When it comes to crypto, for those of you who don't really know too much about it, but Bitcoin is of course the most valuable one, and one of the reasons why is because it simply has the most people holding Bitcoin, using Bitcoin. Ethereum is the second, and then so on and so forth. So there's actually a great correlation between the amount of users holding your crypto and the value of the crypto. So by having a platform that can scale easily with onboarding artists that are basically joining the ecosystem of this ROX token that we have, the entire utility of the token goes up, and so should the token value. So there's a few advantages to basically base it on blockchain technology versus the traditional system. And we can go more deeper into it, but basically it was born because of the current broken model, right? I'm sure many artists that are listening to this, I'm sure you are well aware of how much are you earning from Spotify, and how long does it take to pay, and are you 100% sure that the 200 pages of data or numbers that you get from them is the true, real revenue that you're supposed to get? Right? It's not like you're going to pay a forensic accountant $10,000 to do a forensic review of your accounting in order to recoup maybe a few missing $100. So they know that, and you really have no power. You get what you get, and that's the system that's built. It's built to cater to those major forces that control the music industry. So that's kind of some of the ideas and background why Rocky was born. Which is basically essentially because of the need, the current need.